Hello and welcome to another episode of the TF Cast.
Today with us we have singer-songwriter, musician, and producer Sam Lacari. Sam, tell us a little bit about your new album coming up.
Well, this is a solo project that just released. It's just a studio project right now. Sam Lacari and the Sweet Tease. I just released last Friday, self-titled album. It's full length, 12 songs. I got a lot of different stuff going on in the album. A lot of reggae. I got a funk tune. I got a folk song. I got a rock song. I got a ballad. I got a little bit of everything in there. It's kind of ties my entire embodiment of music in one project, which is fun. It started out beginning of COVID. So when everything hit the fan, can I swear on here?
Oh yeah, you can say
right on. Sick. When the shit hit the fan, all the gigs got canceled, all the everything, for everybody went down, and I had more time on my hands than I knew to do with, so I figured I would take some songs that I had already written and mold them into a project, and I would take the time to write some new songs, and I ended up with 12 songs, and I'm super excited about it. It's streaming everywhere right now. I did all the production, all the playing. I did everything but the drums. I had a homie, Adam Lane, track drums with me, and he killed it. So, and I had a bunch of fun features as well, which made it fun for me doing a solo project. Being alone with your music and your thoughts for that long can suck. So I had Dante Leva of Space Monkey Mafia. He did a saxophone feature on the first track, and he absolutely murdered it. And then we had Megan Gunderman of Druzy Rose do a verse and backups on a song. I had my homie Carson, we're in a band Irie Minds together, and he did a verse. And then I had my older brother, Frank Lacari, who was MC for Neon Giant. He did a sweet verse, and I just think that those features really made the album fun for me to make. So I had a lot of fun making this album.
That's awesome. We've heard a lot of people have had kind of boons and busts over COVID so far as like their musicianship. What was your creative process like during that? You said you had more time, but how did it feel, going at it without like the next gig even in sight, or, like different priorities?
Yeah, it definitely went from gigging musician to focusing back on production and my own this solo project. So I do freelance production and engineering as well. So I have clients, and they bring songs to me, and I build them up however they would like, or I just record them and mix and master them. So that's how I kind of survived during not being able to gig. And then, the creative process was going from not playing bass in bands, but rather picking up the guitar again and doing writing and production.
Is that your primary writing tool, the guitar?
Yeah, when I'm writing my own full song, like lyrics, melody, and all that, I pick up the guitar. That's how I do it.
Yeah, I want to say most of our audience here is in Mankato, so a lot of people have probably most seen you on stage with Irie Minds, and that's probably where they've heard some of your production work first and most. How are things going with that project?
Irie Minds? Oh, I'm so glad to be back on stage with those guys. We had a 1 month, I think, during the pandemic, September, where we had odd 6 gigs, and then for the rest of before and after during the pandemic, we didn't have anything going on. So we have a lot of new music that we have yet to put together fully, and we're super excited about that. And we have a bunch of gigs this summer. We have June, July, August. We have filled up the calendar, so we're super excited. And this weekend, we have Friday, we're at Day Block with Druzy Rose. It's going to be super fun. Hopefully, it's outside if the weather permits. And then this weekend, we're at Harmony Park with a handful of awesome acts. That'll be our first time at Harmony Park. We've had a goal to get to Harmony Park, and this will be our first time finally. Super excited about that.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And that's the 25th and the 26th.
Yes.
For people who hopefully still see that in the future. And that is amazing. And for your solo project, is that something that you plan to gig out, or are you going to be integrating some of that stuff into other tunes?
Yeah. I since June, July, August, it's all booked up yet. I'll hopefully be starting this month getting at least a 3-piece and then a 4-piece together. Rehearsing those songs and getting a set list together so that by September I can be hitting the stage with those guys and moving around. So super excited to be playing guitar in front of people.
Yeah. Is that something that you've long wanted to do, or what instrument did you start with?
I picked up the acoustic guitar and I was like 9 years old. My dad bought me one. I would steal my brother's friend's guitar when they would rehearse. They'd leave their gear, and I would sneak around and pick up the guitar, and that's where I fell in love with music. And since had the necessity, nobody plays bass, so there was a necessity for me to switch over to play bass, and then I became a bass player, and I love bass. It's especially in a reggae band. So I haven't focused on guitar until now, so I'm pretty pumped to relearn the instrument and really grind on the guitar because I've been on bass for so long, and guitar was put on the back burner. So
do you feel a little bit different coming at it from a bass player's perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. It's different. It's like everything's different. The sound, the feel. Now I have to sing and play all the time. It's a completely different performance.
I feel like I've seen you sing at Red Rocks. Did you pick up a guitar when you were singing with Irie Minds at Red Rocks, or was that you were singing with bass too?
Yeah, I would do a little bit of both, but we do the switcheroo, and that would be me and Carson. Carson picks up the bass, and I pick up the 6-string, and I sing a couple tunes.
I think secretly everyone wants to be a bass player. They just don't want to admit it.
Dang, yeah, I don't know, man. There's either you love them or you hate them. I'm fighting the good fight here.
I'm into it. The bass and reggae is way cool. I don't even know how it works. I almost have questions about like getting the sounds and the mechanics of it, but it's a very cool instrument in that band because it really kind of carries things. It's often very bass driven, got that hitting the good notes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very bass focused. They're almost melodically or counter melodies in the songs. So, and it just so fat. The bass lines are so fat. You just really get to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And turn up and be smooth at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
That's cool. And so you said you got started with the guitar and then switched to bass. Are there any other instruments that you play, or just those are the two main ones?
Those are the two main ones. Like I said, I played everything on the record. That would include like harmonica. I did all the keys parts. Did some slide guitar, upright bass. Nothing crazy, but mostly bass and guitar.
It's a substantial spread.
I used to steal my dad's harmonica out of the truck and toot on it, and now I have a full eight harmonicas I can use for production, and I actually use it a lot. I'm working on a Tanner Peterson song right now, two Tanner Peterson songs.
Okay.
And I'm slapping some harmonica in there. It's like a folky tune. It's really fun.
So you still got some of the Mankato peeps who are hitting you up for work. What has there been like do you feel like a lot of connection or disconnect between moving up to the cities, which you've done the last year, and previously being more Mankato centric? I always think it's so close, it's like, it's very close, and I don't think that there's really a difference, but everyone tells me that there is.
Yeah. It's hard to tell with me moving during the pandemic, beginning of the pandemic. So, it was actually in the middle of the pandemic. So I don't really know I miss everybody in Mankato, so like I try and get down here and like, you know, hit the golf course or the frisbee golf course, or, you know, hang out with some people down here. But yeah, we definitely, especially Irie Minds, I can speak probably for everybody. We want to come down here and play for y'all. So in terms of that, I don't know if the disconnect is normal right now, or once stuff gets really cooking back, maybe we'll come back here monthly. Who knows?
Yeah. And not to make you speak for Irie Minds, but you said that there was some new stuff in the works. Does that mean new album maybe coming? I mean, last one was 2019.
Yeah.
But 2020 is a ghost year.
Ghost year, it doesn't exist.
Are those coming, or are they still in the...
So we have a new drummer that we're acclimating to the band, Adam Lane, and, you know, building chemistry with him first with the songs that we have, and then Carson is actually the primary writer of this last album, or this new album that we're talking about. So we haven't yet sat down and focused on the album as much as just getting back together and playing. But yeah, it's probably within, I don't even want to date it. I don't want to date it, but yeah.
Okay. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, from a production standpoint, you did the production for the whole last album, and what was that process like? How do you all go about in the studio, and, you know, what's your recording sessions like?
Oh yeah, that was an interesting one, because some of the stuff had been written and we've been playing it for a while, and then some of the stuff we had kind of built in the studio, you know. So some of the bass lines and some of the grooves had been made in the studio. I was working at F5 Soundhouse in Minneapolis at the time, so we had a sweet connect for, you know, weekend studio space. And we kind of lived in there for a couple weeks. I just love the atmosphere, and I was with my band too, so that made it just so much better. But I feel this next album will be different, because coming at it with the knowledge of the problems that we had during that one, we don't want to be writing it in the studio. We want to have everything solidified so that when it comes to mixing and production, it's absolutely gold.
Yeah, and that's your focus the days when you're in the studio instead of the stuff from...
Yeah.
Because I've heard that both ways too, where some people, like, they have like studio gold and they just follow it and it works for them, and so you never know exactly how it's gonna go.
What's the difference in your mind with, like, whether you're producing it by yourself and how you think about writing versus writing just the bass part for the I'm assuming you write some of those lines for those songs in Irie Minds. Is there a substantial difference in the way that you consider those writing projects, or do you kind of group them together at all?
Typically, I don't think of it. It's let me just, like, right now be reflecting on what would be happening. So with Irie Minds, it's typically, if someone writes a song, there's no bass line. I have the sole purpose to write the bass line, and that gives me the opportunity to put all of my energy into writing a cool bass line that fits, that is not too much and not too little, you know. And then if I'm doing a full production, say someone else comes and they have a song and I'm building everything, the first thing that happens is usually groove, which is drums and bass, and then it's typically simpler bass stuff. It's so easy for a bass player to be doing too much when he doesn't need to be doing too much. So it typically, the production is a little bit, I don't want to say less thoughtful, but less thoughtful.
Just maybe more of a carrier to the, whether, I guess it's the client, if they've got their vocals or their thing in mind, you just want to support that.
Supporting that, whatever they want to focus on, whether it be their voice or, you know, the actual instrumentation, whatever. It's definitely project to project.
I guess with the writing for Irie Minds and the bass stuff then too, I wonder if you write differently for album than you play on stage? Do you ever like just go off on stage in a little bit of a different way, or is it pretty consistent between the album and the live?
Some stuff is played verbatim, and some stuff after, like I said, after the, if you wrote it in the studio, you might have regrets, or you might have something where you're like, I wish I would have done it this way. You have an opportunity now every time you get on stage to do it that way. Mm-hmm. So I personally have changed bass lines, from the recording. Mm-hmm. I think they're better. So when we play live, it is different, or even full sections. We'll extend some sections because we think that it's necessary and it's cool. Like in reggae, doing dub sections, which is, it's an instrumental section with a lot of effects and drum and bass focused. You take out the lyrics and you just kind of groove, and it's a lot of fun. But in the recordings, they're shorter, so we want to extend them live. So yeah, there is definitely a difference on some songs.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's
cool.
Like a breakdown a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some reggae influences of yours?
Oh man, yeah. So when people hear us, they first thing they say is Sublime, and we're like, yeah, Sublime, and then they're like Bob Marley, and they're like, yeah. Personally, I grew up actually with like a lot of local reggae stuff. So my older siblings were in the scene, and I was listening to anything like John Wayne and the Pain, Lunar Funk Theory, New Reb, even Wookie Foot had a lot of reggae stuff. But then I got into like East Coast stuff, which is still to this day like my favorite stuff. Giant Panda Grill, Dub Squad, Expanders. I think they're from the East Coast, or at least their record label was. Easy Star All Stars, John Brown's Body. I think John Brown's Body is like the greatest reggae band to ever play in America. They're kind of like the beginning of American reggae rock. And they've been around for so long. And I had to drive out during a New Year's Eve winter storm to go see them in New York, and it was just violent. We seen so many trucks in the ditches on the way out, but we had 2 nights of John Brown's Body and Giant Panda, so
worth it.
Oh yeah, every single bit of it, yeah.
That's cool. Well, and you mentioned, did you at Red Rocks, did you open for John Wayne and the Pain too?
Yeah, I think like 3 times. He's come down here and we opened for him. Yeah,
was that a kind of coming to moment with music, being able to open for a band that you grew up liking?
Yeah, it's insane. It was a goal of mine when I was in high school. I had a high school band, and I was like listening to John Wayne. I was like, man, it'd be so cool to open up for John Wayne. And then actually, there's a cool story. We were at Midtown Tavern when I was still open, and John Wayne and Ben Suki and I think it was Useful Jenkins were playing like a smaller set there, and we showed up, and John recognized me from being at his shows and dancing, because I love to dance, and I'm always the first one on the dance floor, and he recognized me, and then he's like, "Oh, you're Sam," and we had a conversation. He must have heard about Irie Minds and heard about me, and then we had a conversation, and then that sparked him coming to Mankato and having a solid band to open up for him and help promote the show. So that was super freaking sweet for me. It's like an idol of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So you're talking about a couple of goals that have been coming up here. You've basically passed that one. And then the Harmony Park one, what's the long-term goals? Like, what are the dreams?
Yeah, those are, right now I am making a living, if you can call it that, just off of music and production. Long-term, I would like to run a studio space by myself, so that I can really have full control of what I do, and then also continue gigging and getting better and better and better. Mm-hmm. It's very easy for someone to look at where they are and get down on themselves. Oh, I haven't been getting better. I haven't progressed. And it's also very easy to look at yourself and say, I'm still young. I'm comparing myself to other prodigies, or like, this guy's better than me at this. And it's really comparing yourself to others, and you can't do that. So the balance between understanding where you are and where you want to be, and not getting down and just continuing and pushing through the lulls. So ultimately, that's my goal, is to own a studio and continue to do this as long as I love it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Happiness.
Happiness. I want to be happy doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel that. That's my goal too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with some making art your business, sometimes there can be conflicts there a little bit. So is that something that you've had to manage and found good solutions for? Is that something you're still working with, or how do you consider that?
Yeah. Well, I went to college for, I have a degree in, I guess it's music industry / audio production. Okay. I went to McNally for a year, and I came down here to Mankato for a year. Went back up to HTC for 2 years, and then back down here for my last year at Mankato. So between all of that, you know, there's a lot that I learned in terms of music business that sometimes contradicts what you want to do or what you think you want to do as an artist. And everybody has to find their own balance for that as well. So you have to be organized, or else you're just never going to get gigs. You have to be easy to work with, or else no one wants to work with you. So being a good person is always the foundation. If you're not a fun person to be around, or if you're a dickhead, or you're just, I don't know, like just a bad person to be around, you're probably not going to have a lot of fun trying to make it in any art, especially music. No one wants to be in a studio with you if you're like constantly like down on yourself, or getting down on other people, or like being a dick. Yeah. You just have to be an all right person. And that's really the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, music's entertainment for people too. Like the people on the other end, they want it to be fun and good.
Yeah.
Fun and good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a combo.
Well, there is actually a whole contingent of people who want it to be fun and bad. Like,
meme music.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of it. Whole genres, actually.
Right, yeah. And that's okay. There's a time and place for everything.
I agree. I like my fair share of it.
Yeah.
Any like real left field genres that you like to play or listen to?
Dang, I figure like reggae is pretty left field, but
Yeah. Left field for you, like something that people might not expect. Into like metal or like techno.
I really keep it home base with reggae. I like some funk. Every November, there's a handful of funk bands that come and play Minneapolis, and I try and catch every single one of them, like the Motet or the Galactic, or Talk. It's an instrumental like prog funk Afro. It's just nutty music. That's probably as far left as I get, but I enjoy most music if it's good and I believe you. When you're playing it, if it's authentic, I can enjoy it. Yeah,
that's cool.
What are you guys? What do you think is left field?
Left field for you, or like just in general?
Well, for you guys, yeah.
For me, my left field would probably be like folk music. I've really gotten into the folk music that like Laura Carls is singing down here, and like I guess B-Balm Fields. Otherwise, Onion Bun's a little bit left field for me too, with the math rock. Like my whole exposure to the genre is them basically,
right?
And I've been genuinely enjoying it. Also, plug, we worked recently with both those
right on
bands. So
big video tomorrow.
It's been in my headspace recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like my core genre is probably more like electronic, so those are pretty left field for me. A little different than what I'm used to.
For me, I guess it's probably a lot of instrumental music, and probably a lot more on the either classical side with those type of instruments. Like I listen to a lot of piano music. Love Julia Kent. That's a cellist who does looping and stuff like that.
Oh, right on.
And then I really get stoked for any kind of post rock kind of music like that. So like hearing that Onion Bun was around, I was the one who was like, I'm excited about this and I want to do this. So I'm really glad that Willis got into that. But I mean, any of that kind of I don't know, more pretentious rock and roll with fewer vocals.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
Like jam band stuff too?
Less, but it's
Less.
okay.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
depends. Like jam band, when I'm there, like someone telling me about a Fish show they taped.
Yep.
Nah.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And the Minnesota scene's got its fair share of jam band stuff going on, so that's why I asked. But
Oh, and I love it. Like
right.
every time when there were shows at Rocks, I enjoyed those. So they always brought something more than I ever thought that they would bring, and like always some of the best energy. So it's like some of my favorite music it really, for me, there's a big disconnect between what I want to listen to on speakers, in headphones, and what I want to stand in front of. Mm-hmm. And like a good example of this for me is like Beach House. It's a band that I really like, and I've seen them in concert more times than I want to admit. And every time it's just boring. And like, I just beat myself up. I'm like, why did I go to this show where nothing happens? Like, literally nothing happens. And I always have a good time, but I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, you love it.
yeah, and then you try them again, and you're like, nope, it's the same thing. Third time's the charm.
Because I would
they
rather
didn't
have
change.
that beer in my hand at 10 p.m. like listening to the good tune,
Right.
Like, and those are just two completely separate things.
Mm-hmm.
What I was gonna ask about music, art. I think I lost it. My bad.
Well, if there was something that you wanted our audience to know about you that they might not know now, what would it be?
Oh my God, I don't know what they know. I feel like it's still kind of people still get surprised that I do production too. I haven't quite. I'm freelance, so you know I pick up what I can. But other than that, like I feel like people still get surprised. They're like, "Oh, you do that too?" So I suppose if you need some help, you can call me up. I'll help you out.
Nice. And where would people, is there a spot people can go to find out more about that? Or is there a project you would recommend people check out that you produce that you're especially pleased with?
I have a Spotify playlist under I think whatever, Sam Lacari. It's like my personal listening profile. It's called Reel, and it's my reel of all the things that I've at least done something on. Some of it's just like I mixed it. Some of it is my own music. Some of it is Irie Minds, Tanner Peterson, Alec John, and Sky Surfers, Admiral Fox, all sorts of different stuff, ranging genres. So it in general is what I'll send to people if they want to check out what I've done. If they like the sound or not, they can decide then.
That's cool. The real Sam Licari playlist.
Yeah.
Sam Licari
The real
reels.
REEL. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is my last one. I promise when we get the plugs is if you were trying to help someone get into the music scene that you've been most into in Minnesota, which is this like reggae jam band and all that stuff, like where would you send them to start apart from your next show?
I would say you have to come to live music. That's how I got into it. I was going to live music far before I was like playing. And I think that's part of why I had an in with the scenes, because they knew who I was before I was even a musician, because they recognized me from just being at shows. So it's a very community-based scene. And you have to show your face, and you have to be, friends with everybody, and then, you'll find people to play with, and if you're a new musician, you'll be inspired forever and always, because you're surrounded by talented people, and that's how I did it anyway. You have to go out and enjoy live music and be inspired. Every time I go out, I'm inspired. I'm like, man, that was such a good song, or that vocalist was so good. I need to get better at singing, or that guitar player moved me. He was so good, or she was so good. And that's just, that's part of it. You have to live the whole lifestyle, going to it, seeing it in person, experiencing the artists off stage as well, talking to them, just being a human being around them. And then you'll find your spot.
Right on. Cool. That's cool. Why don't we do some plugs? You got the links you want people to find, follow, check out?
Yeah. You can stream my new album anywhere. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon if you do that, Google Play, whatever it is. My social medias, I think my Instagram is the Italian Mustache Man. I do all my Sweet Tease posts on there. Facebook, I have a Sam Lacari and the Sweet Tease Facebook page as well. Irie Minds is on Facebook and Instagram as well. Or you can just hit me up on my personal page. Right on.
Well, that's awesome. We got some songs recorded today too, so we'll get those out and link to all that. Yeah, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.